Welcome on in, everyone, to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch with your hosts, Brett, Brandon, and Gabe. We appreciate everybody stopping by in the live chat, even if you're listening on the, if you're not live anymore, just catching us up on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you may be listening to your podcast. We appreciate you. We also would appreciate, if you have the time, like, comment, subscribe, or at least just hit the like bell. It really does help a lot. It does push us in the algorithm and all that. Gets more D-back fans like yourselves to kind of, check out the show and all that. And then if you guys are new here, in case you are, I know that we got some frequent viewers is in Corbin Barrels and Red Sox Nation, and we got a new viewer, Rickety Bridge. Great to have you. Check us out on Twitter as well, at Dbacks Dispatch, where we got banger memes like our man Gabe made for the time machine going back to have Seawald. Just don't pitch to Seager or don't walk to Varus. Join our Discord as well. So you guys can kind of stay in touch with us in there in more of a direct way. And also check out any of the articles that we have over on the AZ Snake Pit. Obviously, it's the offseason, so there's not going to be as many, but as we get closer to the season, we're going to see more, like, especially when like Hazen does all of his moves seemingly after the new year, which we'll get to a little bit later. There'll be some more articles on that, so make sure you guys check out again AZ Snake Pit. And then again, if you guys have any questions in chat or just questions in general for us, throw it in the chat, and we'll try to, depending on time and all that, we'll get to it at the end. And worst case scenario, we can try to address them in the Discord. So again, another bonus, hop in there. But as you guys kind of saw from the tweet that we put out earlier, kind of promoting the show, from the thumbnail and all that, there was some D-backs related news that kind of impacted the community itself in the D-backs. Especially speaking for all three of us, we all met in this community, and that's PHNX had multiple people let go, and one of them especially the Dbacks writer Jesse Friedman, who is just an absolute class act, great writer, great person. Had the pleasure of talking to him a few times, and it's just I've tried to model my writing after him a little bit, but it wasn't just a few people at PHNX that got let go, as their parent company, All City Network, let go of multiple people across PHNX, CHGO, and DNVR. And their CEO, Brandon Spano, was quoted in an article after the layoffs, which, again, a week before Christmas. I know it's a lot of businesses do it and all that, yada, yada, but it's just very poor timing, in my opinion. But he was quoted as saying, "As much as we would like to cover all sports in the exact same manner, the reality is that certain sports command a different scale of audience and advertiser interest at the local level, and we're moving our resources to better align with that. These decisions were made using the large pool of data that has been accumulated over the last few years." And then he also went on to say, which this kind of pissed me off and just shows that it's the ESPN mindset of they only give a shit about basketball and football. He went on to say, "We can do baseball without off-season shows." And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Obviously, just the fact that, they let Jesse go, and then other people like Craig Morgan, Peter, Lindsay on the Suns podcast, like they let a lot of good people go, which is very unfortunate. I know that's not really on the PHNX side to decide. That was kind of the higher ups at All City, like I said. But it kind of want to make me I can't even speak. I'm sorry. Have myself ask you gentlemen. I know obviously Rickety and some of the people that have joined from the PHNX community. You guys, we definitely aired our grievances in the Discord last night. I mean, me personally, I had canceled my membership immediately. I'm still going to support a lot of people there because there's still a lot of great people at that place, but it's I don't know. It's not going to be the same. And it was pretty devastating. So the question I wanted to ask you guys were, what were your initial reactions to this news, and what does the attitude towards baseball coverage that Spano was kind of talking about with the can do without baseball off-season shows? What does that kind of attitude towards the coverage mean for the future of just baseball coverage in general? Gabe, I'll start to you like normal.
Well, I guess first of all, I just want to say welcome everybody who's tuning in for the first time. If you guys are PHNX fans, welcome. I guess we as a community, we call ourselves the dispatchers, I guess, or something. I don't know. We don't have an actual name for
We do need to come
for
up
us,
with a
but
name, by the way.
we're the dispatchers, Dispatch Nation or something. All right. So I guess my initial thoughts were, I don't know. I guess I didn't see it coming. It's not something I ever really thought about because, they seem to be expanding. Everything seemed to be going well. Like they were getting bigger, quote unquote stars on the network, former athletes and stuff. So it seemed like they were doing well enough that didn't need to happen. But if you're a fan of radio and podcasts, especially sports, you know how hard it is to find any actual baseball related content, especially on the radio. If you turn on the radio at 6 a.m. on your drive home or drive to work, if you have an hour long commute, in the middle of baseball season, they will not talk about the D-backs at all. They will be talking about the Suns and whatever Kyler Murray's doing, Basinonians, whatever bullcrap freaking Wolf talks about.
Basinonians.
Basinonians. That it's there's literally wall to wall coverage of football, and I've known that they've asked these questions before, like on their shows, and they just straight up say, "Well, people don't care about baseball. Like the big sports are football and basketball. That's what people care about here in Arizona. So that's why we don't cover them as much." And it's like, but it's like, is that a chicken or the egg thing? Like, do we not have people paying attention to baseball because you guys don't cover it, or do you guys not cover it because no one paying attention to baseball? And at this point, we saw record attendance this year for the D-backs. Like people care. Even our podcast too, we started up late last year and into this year. We've grown a pretty good community relatively quickly, like especially with no backing. And so there's clearly a desire for content about the D-backs and baseball in general, and especially we've seen stuff like the NBA have issues with ratings. It's like people are looking for baseball content. Like the World Series had high ratings. Like people want to watch baseball and they want to care about baseball, and to have CEOs like this guy and ESPN just be like, well, the markets are more localized, so nobody cares. And it's like maybe they would care if you covered them, instead of talking about whatever the hell LeBron did in Germany for 3 days, getting those freaking steroid shots, where the hell he got, and instead, covering actual baseball news going on. Like I don't think ESPN barely even talked about the Juan Soto thing. You like if you want to find anything related to baseball on TV, you have to go to MLB Network, and not everybody has those channels. So it's just really frustrating, and that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast was just how hard it is to find any sort of baseball content, especially in podcasts, and specifically the Diamondbacks. Like, there's only a handful of us out there, and one of them was Jesse. When I first started listening to him, when he had the rattle, then when he made the move to PHNX, I followed him there, and so it sucks, and it sucks to hear supposed sports fan CEOs just be like, yeah, no one cares about baseball, so we're just gonna fire half the people.
Yes, it's like you said. Like Jesse was the reason I kind of like started listening to PHNX. I remember finding the rattle in like 2018, maybe 2019 on a road trip to Wyoming, and was just like, man, the student knows what he's talking about. It's not like I know us at times we can get a little more, maybe we're thinking with our hearts and we're not thinking as clear as we possibly should. That's gonna be a lot of fans, but it's very just humble dude, and it's like you said, we don't get a lot of we're a smaller market. ESPN, those other guys, even with the Juan Soto thing, if they talk about it, they're going to talk about more of, oh, well, what can the Yankees do now? And it's like, okay, my brother in Christ, like, what are we doing here? So it does suck because, and especially not even just for Jesse, but even for Derek, who, again, we don't even know what's going to be happening with their show, which is very unfortunate because I did enjoy tuning in because it is nice to hear other, opinions, other thoughts and all that just from other D-backs fans. And that's what they are. That was like the community they built. It was like, by D-backs fans, like for D-backs fans. And it was a little bit of a heartbreak, honestly, because again, like I said before, we all met. Like we wouldn't probably be doing this podcast if it wasn't for PHNX and like having that, connection to no other like-minded D-backs fans. So Brandon, I want to, pass it to you, let you have the floor, speak as long as you want. What were, again, kind of same question to you. What were some of your initial thoughts on just the move from All City Connect, like the timing, the people they let go, and also the comments that Spano made about baseball and, how baseball coverage is going to be looked at going forward?
I'm not surprised that a big corporate company decided to fire people. They have to find ways to make it a profitable business. I get that. I just think that you couldn't wait 2 weeks. You couldn't wait till after the first of the year. I think this is just awful timing. And kind of like you guys said, they just go to the one sport where to the general public, it is dying off. A lot of people do not watch baseball like they used to. So this has really left a sour taste in my mouth that why would you cut from PHNX, CHGO, DNVR, three of the cities that they've been in the longest? Why not? Is it because you've seen enough and you know it's not going to do well? Because if you noticed, no one from the Dallas area show or the Philadelphia, their two newest locations, no one got cut from there. So and this whole thing, how they raised $12 million 3 months ago. And then if you notice, it was really hockey, soccer, and baseball were the three that they really gutted the most. I know Lindsay from the Suns got let go, but I think everyone else was either hockey, soccer, or baseball. So it's just people making decisions on sports that they didn't grow up watching. So they don't know, it doesn't appeal to them. The whole, we can do a off season without baseball shows. I mean, you can do anything really, but you shouldn't. If you want to keep that that viewership going in any sort of content that you make, whether it's sports, movies, video games, it's the consistent content. If you produce either daily or bi-weekly or even weekly content, people tend to stick around because they know what your schedule is. If you don't, that's where you lose viewership. I dropped my membership to PHNX a couple of months ago. There was some things that were happening in one of the channels there that every time that I saw a certain comment, I'm just it triggered me very much. It got me very angry. I'm like, you know what? So I left. Okay. I wasn't sure on that. I didn't remember seeing anything. So I guess it wasn't one of the major ones.
Either way, still unfortunate that in general they had to from all these places they've cut from. I know we trolled in or at least I did a little trolling in the YouTube chat for them after we knocked them out in the NLCS last year. But I imagine great people over there. They do great content too. It's unfortunate.
And I think one of the reasons the PHNX Dbacks excelled so well is something that we've brought up. Local media does not talk about the Diamondbacks at all. Outside of opening day and if the team's doing well in August and September. If you turn on Arizona sports, they almost never. They would rather talk about in March, this tweet that Kyler made. They would rather spend 2 segments on that than talk about spring training for the Diamondbacks. Now, the main issue over there is there's not a lot of their hosts that know baseball. They don't know it very well. If I have to hear Wolf talk baseball, I have to change the station. I just there's only a few over there that I'm okay, they know what they're talking about Everyone else is more of producer gives them things to actually say, and then sometimes they go off on their own. It's just not good. So, but no, All City really dropped the ball on this, and I think that I don't think they realize how much of an issue this is going to be. Like, they will start to see it in a couple of months when all of a sudden they lose diehard memberships, they lose subscribers, which will affect their views on either recorded videos or live streams. Like, that's going to be a big one. And I don't think they probably knew, like, yeah, we're probably going to get some backlash. But it won't affect them until it affects their pocketbooks. So we'll have to definitely see what is going on there. I really do hope Jesse gets on his feet as soon as possible, because like we said, Jesse talks baseball so well. Like, he knows his stuff. Like, there are no takes that Jesse has where I'm like, Jesse, yeah, about that. No. Also, his articles are so good. He writes very, very well. So I'm hoping that he's able to get something here as soon as possible. Because I don't think, because Gabe kind of brought it up how he had the other content he was doing where he didn't live down here. He lived in Washington. So he moved for this and now doesn't have a job. So that's always tough when you're not ready for it. So I just thoughts and prayers out to not just Jesse, but everyone from All City that was let go. But to me, the biggest one is Craig. That one, I'm like, wait,
That
like
shocked me.
this man has covered Arizona sports in general down here for a very, very long time. And when they let him go, to me, that was more of, we don't care about our written articles. We just don't. So yeah, that I was like, wow, they let Craig go. That one was tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to highlight some of the comments here. First of all, Oscar is saying if I'm going to get fired next, I can't get fired if I quit. And
So
B or Vi,
Oscar's got a little Spano in him, huh?
yeah. She says that my mom says she only likes watching baseball with me because I know the stories or why certain players matter. And I think that's one of the big things, just since there's such little coverage in general of baseball around the valley from the news networks here and the sports networks, that sometimes you just don't know what's going on. Like, I remember when the D-backs entered the playoffs in 2023, I had a few friends who were more casual fans. They're like, "Oh wait, the D-backs are good. Like, they're gonna make the playoffs." I'm like, "Yeah, they're in the CS now. And, like, it's a pretty big deal." So they were asking me, I'm like, "How do you guys not know?" And it's because, yeah, they're not getting covered. There's no real media coverage. I remember growing up, like, there would be billboards for the D-backs advertising all these sorts of things, and now that's kind of gone away. Now it is more Suns, it is more Cardinals, and um, I know, Brandon, you're talking about, like, are these things going to be, they have to turn a profit, but I don't know if that's the case. I would like to see Spano's bank account, see how much of a pay cut he took, because there's no way he's taking a pay cut. Like, usually they fire people instead of taking pay cuts or not getting bonuses. So I when we look at stuff like PHNX, and I'm not saying this to bag on them or anything, but like maybe a third of the runtime are ads. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, it is what it is. Like, we know they have to run ads in order
Gotta get
for
your
the
bag
shows.
somewhere. Gotta pay for the
Yeah,
writers.
exactly. So I'm like, you're telling me that none of these sponsors that sponsored a third of the podcast, like, you're telling me they're not making enough money to pay guys like Jesse? Like, that's BS to me. Like, there's no way they're not profitable. Like, maybe they were expecting 25% profits or 25% increase, but they got 24%, so they just fired a whole bunch of people because they didn't reach their profit goals or profit margins that they wanted, even though they're profitable. But that's usually what happens. And yeah, like I don't want to listen to the radio to get my D-backs coverage right now. Like I don't want to hear Wolf talk about get your boat, you get your load boost, space and onions. Like I don't want to hear him talking about load boost or blue chews. Like please, no more. I'd rather just listen to Gila River ads or
Wolf
something. Like
is really good at talking football, and that's what he should stick with. Like that man knows football. It's great. But any other sport, I'm like, can't. I just can't.
yeah, I mean the only guy that really knows baseball there is the guy who does the D-backs, the Diamond Talk. I always forget his name. Not
Steve,
Alex or no, Steve Zenmeister.
yeah.
Yeah,
Who,
and he's
by the way,
great guy.
did a podcast with Derek before he joined PHNX.
Yeah, so he's great. He does a lot of great coverage. But they only bring him on for like 10 minutes every few weeks or something like that. Like he really just doesn't get much airplay there. But when he's on there, I love hearing him. I love hearing his thoughts. But that's about it. Nobody else on there really knows baseball at all. Like they're all football fans, they're all basketball fans. So they know that. But yeah, like it's like, nails on a chalkboard having to listen to some of these folks talk about baseball because you're kind of like, don't you guys have on Tori sometimes and you're asking these sorts of questions and say these sorts of statements? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, say it's pretty rough when guys like, and again, this is no disrespect towards him, but like Fuzzy, YouTuber that does like daily recaps of like baseball games throughout the season. I'm pretty sure in one season he's probably talked about the D-backs more. Obviously, it's a daily recap, so he's going to talk about those games, but he has probably talked about the D-backs and actually gone into more depth. I think Jolly Olive and even John Boy Media have covered the D-backs more and probably better than a lot of Arizona-based things were, and that's what sucks is because again, that's what Derek and Jesse did so well. And again, they're still, again, we don't know exactly what's happening with them. Like they could still be doing shows, but it's just having those daily shows, having those like you knew that if there's a big like when they signed Erod, when they signed Jordan Montgomery, like they were doing emergency pods, like they really put the passion into it. And even like Red Sox Nation says in the chat here is Jesse gave up so much to come and chase his dream too, a whole career to come over to the D-backs. And like that's a great point. Like Gabe said, is when he was doing the rattle, he was doing it, from Washington, where I believe he's a teacher up there, if I'm not mistaken. And he, came down here and again, it sucks. I know some things are business decisions, but it's just one of those where it seems like especially after not even like 6 months ago, maybe, when they talked about raising like $12 million in funds, like you said, like I get like the ads thing, like there's a lot of things where sometimes ads can be too much, but the nice thing is I can just fast forward through them unless it's a live pod. But like I understand having a bunch of ads, but if you're gonna publicly tout like getting all this like money raised, it's like it doesn't make it okay in my opinion when you're gonna let go of these people, especially this close to the holidays. And I know it's like he even said, and I think it was a pretty tone deaf response he had on Twitter. I don't have the actual quote, but he was you could probably correct me if I'm wrong on it, but I believe he did say something like, oh, nobody's going to be financially impacted by this over the holidays, when it's like, okay, yeah, maybe like they're going to be getting
2 weeks.
Yeah, they're going to get another paycheck. Well, I think he said they're paid through January, so it's like, cool, you're going to get another paycheck or two. Like sick. It takes a lot longer than that usually to probably find a new job and actually get started, get your get the ball rolling on that again. So it's just very poor timing, and it sucks because, and like you even said, like Espo on the PHNX Suns thing gave a great kind of explanation and all that, and like tip the cap to him, props to him. I know that was not easy for him. I know it's not easy for a lot of them right now, especially again Derek and Jesse. Like even Derek said in one of his tweets, like him and Jesse basically became like best friends over these last few years, and it really sucks because they were a really entertaining like bunch to listen to.
This right here, like the holidays sometimes are super tough. If you add unemployment on it, it just makes it tough. So hopefully everyone is able to get through this.
Yeah, and I guess we can kind of like transition to try to at least end this part of the topic in a more of a positive note, because I had a follow-up question for you guys. Is just I know we kind of already touched on it a little bit as we were going over it, but just why was Jesse and his content and the impact that he had on the Dbacks community just so important for us? Like, I know I can at least go first really quick is I do a lot of like the main like, recap writing of the articles like after the episodes when we put them up on the Snake Pit. I try to, I've taken a lot from Jesse's, writing, the way he does things. Like he'll keep like a nice balance of like analytics, but also keep a little bit of humor in there. It's just great person. And again, he was probably one of the main reasons why I even like was interested in starting our own like podcast. Is I was like, damn, I kind of want to be like Jesse one day. I want to, be able to write like him, have the same like, baseball takes as him, where like Brandon said, where there's not going to be a time where you're like, I don't like. Trust me, I've had some baseball takes where there's a trade proposition idea where like we all have. We're all fans.
We
all have it. It's all gonna be like that. But Jesse was definitely one of the rare few where you're like, yeah, like you really
Luis Arias. Do we need to?
Trust me. No,
right?
we don't.
Right?
You don't need to. We'll let you pass on that one for right now. But he was one of the few where whenever they had he had a take, is he was usually right, and it might have not been the process that we wanted to go as a fans. Maybe we're getting a little too hyped, like, oh, Mike Hazen, go sign this guy, and he's like, hey, pump the brakes, let's be realistic. And like that was a nice thing, is kind of kept us all like grounded and down to earth with a lot of the thoughts. And I really hope that John Boy Media scoops him up, does a talking snakes pod with him and Dalton Felix. That'd be electric. But kind of enough from me talking about Jesse. What are some of the things that you guys obviously noticed from the impact that Jesse had and just all that on his with the Dbacks community here?
Yeah, I mean, he also he just looked at the analytics and he was able to tell an entire story with those analytics that were present. Like one of the main ones that I remember that I think we basically everybody had pushback on was Tommy Henry. When Tommy Henry first came up into the league and just was going 7 inning shutout every single time, we're like, this is literally Clayton Kershaw. And Jesse was the first one who was like, yeah, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Like he looked at the expected batting average, looked at all these sorts of things where he was like, let's pump the brakes. It seems like he's getting very, very lucky, which is good, but he's also, showing a lot of signs to where this isn't sustainable. And yeah, like a few weeks later, a few games later, suddenly Tommy Henry was getting knocked around. And right now, he's kind of a triple A, quadruple A guy. And he's, been struggling to find a spot in this rotation and on this team in general because, yeah, I mean, Jesse was right. He looked at the numbers and he saw something there that, as fans, sometimes we don't see it because we buy into a certain amount of hype. And it's always good to have a person who's grounded like that, who understands these numbers, because if we look at a free agent and we say like, oh, we want this guy, look, he batted 350, he's amazing, and then you dig into it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of singles, like very specific times. He was getting very lucky. Same like with Cody Bellinger last year. He had great numbers, but if you look at his expected batting average, what he had this year was what he should have had last year. It just was very lucky finding these holes. So, having somebody grounded like that is very important. And I love listening to his takes. I like, like reading his articles. So he had a really big impact, especially after the games. Here, you can even hear his voice in some of the clips online when he's asking questions and everything. So hopefully we can still hear him next season. Hopefully he lands on his feet, gets another job covering Dbacks baseball. And yeah, I mean, this is a very fickle business. I know there's a lot of people just getting laid off. I mean, even on the 98.7, I believe her name is Sarah Cazell. I mean, she does the intros and stuff like that.
I think that
I
was
really like
last
her voice.
month.
Yeah, just barely last month. She just got let go suddenly. Like, I did like listening to her voice and her takes too. And it's just, this is the way things happen sometimes. They hire big name people, and so the quote unquote small name people just kind of just get thrown out to the street.
Yeah, so you made a great point there, Gabe, with being able to hear some Jesse's like questions and all that. Is you never heard like it was a very popular thing years ago when Bryce Harper was on the Nats, like the meme, that's a clown question, bro. Jesse never asked clown questions. Jesse never asked like he wouldn't like ask like questions that might like attack a player, might like, put them in a mode where they might be defensive and all that. But like he had like some like really good questions when he didn't get the chance to ask them, and just I don't know, it was like a 1 in a million with when it comes, especially with Arizona like sports media and all that. Like we know how it can be sometimes. He was definitely like a one-off compared to all of them. But Brandon, kind of same question to you, like me and Gabe were gushing about with Jesse, is like, why was his content and impact in the Dbacks community just so important to just a lot of us here?
Exactly what Red Sox Nation said. He was like, for me, it felt like it was me. Like, felt like Jesse was a guy just like me that really loves baseball, loves getting into the nitty gritty, the stats, the math of it. And he was able to, I think he's definitely one of the best in the Valley when it comes talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks. So definitely is this is going to be very a weird feeling for me until we know where he is going to end up. Whether he takes us as, okay, I did it for a while, and it was fun, but maybe I should just go back to being just a teacher or whatnot, or is he just gonna kind of brush this off and like, no, I mean, I'm good at this, I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna show All City that they made a huge mistake. So I'm very curious to see what he does wherever he goes, even if for whatever reason he goes and covers the Dodgers even if he doesn't like the team, if somebody gives you a full-time job covering that team, you're gonna put it aside. You're gonna put whatever prior feelings you had about that organization, because someone's paying you. And so yeah, I personally feel like Jesse's gonna get back out there. I really do. So just trying to put that out in the universe there for Jesse, that he's able to get back on his feet as soon as possible. There's still a lot of time left in the off season. There's 29 other teams too. So
Yes. So even like what Rugnar and Rickety Bridge were saying, like Rickety Bridge was saying, he explained ex-woba to me, and again, there's a lot of new terms in baseball stats like that even sometimes I get confused on. You got ex-woba, you got ex-wo bacon. I just like to call it that because it's fun. And even like Rugnar said, Jesse 1000% got me into baseball, and that was Jesse got me to look at it more like an analytical side, like to look at it more like take your heart out of it, try to actually think about it with like some logic. And like you said, or like the comment you pointed out about him being just humble, down to earth, like that's exactly what he was. And again, like you said, I fingers crossed, I think he'll land on Thunderstick for life, indeed, Corbin Barrels. He's gonna find a place that truly appreciates him. I mean, he got nominated along with Craig Morgan for an award like a writer's award.
What blows my mind. They both got nominated, and now they're both unemployed.
Yeah, and like he's gonna find a place. And again, like you said, and even like Zed brought up in the comments, if it's for the Dodgers, that would suck, because again, like I don't like the Dodgers, but that just means that once again that organization is getting the best of the best, and that's exactly what Jesse is. He is the best of the best, and I hope that we hear in the next few weeks before the February comes around, maybe before spring training, whether he does something like the rattle again or something in general. I know that he'll stick the landing and he'll hit the ground running and kind of be back to exactly where he was. But again, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we move on to kind of some of the actual, like, I guess, Dbacks related news that we kind of had on the docket here?
No,
all right.
Just hopefully that everyone that was impacted by this is able to get back on their feet as soon as possible.
Yeah, And especially, again, there are still some great people at PHNX. So, whenever we do know exactly what's going on with the PHNX Dbacks show with Derek, I'm definitely going to still be tuning in because, again, I love Derek as well. But definitely was a rough day. But with the Dbacks, at least, again, when I say Dbacks news, there's yet again not really much Dbacks news. The only this will kind of be like a little two-parter, at least, is there was some signings. They did sign somebody. One of them is a return. They signed two people. One of them is a return for now their third time as a D-back. It's not the return that we probably all hoped and theorized with maybe Paul Goldschmidt coming home. They brought back Ildemaro Vargas, signed him to a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. The 33-year-old in his career has hit 246, 289, 354 with a 648 OPS and a 77 OPS plus. It's not really the best hitter, but he is depth. He at least will fill in if Reno needs a guy. If God forbid we have any injuries on the major league roster and we need a shortstop or somebody, the middle infielder to kind of come up and fill in. So he's not terrible option. Again, it's depth. And then they also did end up signing a former, I believe, top prospect when he was with the Braves, top 10 prospect, Christian Pache. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Pache, he did play for the Phillies last. They signed him, the Marlins last. He went from Phillies, Baltimore, and then ended up with the Marlins this year. He's more known for his speed, not really the hitter, but it's, again, some solid depth you can have. In his career, he has, these are not the prettiest numbers. His career, he's a 181, 243, 275 hitter with a 518 OPS and a 46 OPS plus. So again, it's not the best probably signing you could imagine, and that kind of gets me into the main point. This is a tweet that we did see from Dbacks Stats and Info on Twitter. We kind of had not like a disagreement, but we did have, I'd say, a healthy discussion about this in our group chat. And it was him pointing out that, obviously we can be a little impatient. There's a lot of these free agents going around. Gio Urshela did just sign a deal, I believe, with the Athletics. So the A's are making a lot more moves than I imagine most baseball fans planned, and the D-backs are making a lot less than we planned and theorized. But in his career as a GM, the tweet that D-backs Stats and Info had, you can go follow them on Twitter. Great account. He does a lot of quote unquote cooking from the new year on to January 28th. So from January 1st to February 28th, I apologize. Some of the guys that he brought on and their collective B-War, Chris Iannetta, pretty good, solid signing for him. I believe in his first year as GM, he had a 1.8 B-War for us. Brought in guys like Daniel Descalso, Alex Avila, I don't even want to think about right now. But they had a positive WAR. Taylor Widener wasn't terrible. Steven Souza Jr., Tim LeCastro.
The replacement for JD, by the way.
Yeah, the replacement for JD, that was pain. Tim LeCastro, who had a pretty solid season, at least, with the speed and all that, and then not so solid one in the second one here. Relief pitcher Hector Rodon, Starling Marte in 2020, where they immediately flipped him 2 months later. So he was basically a D-back for not very long. And then some other guys that we've been a little more familiar with, this is a little more recent. Humberto Castellanos, Evan Longoria, Tyler Clippard, Zach Davies, and Austin Adams, who both had negative WAR here. Andrew Chafin for his second stint. Obviously, again, we traded him in 2020. So this kind of classifies as Hazen bringing him in, obviously, in the time frame. And then the three at the end here, one of them was a trade. Doesn't really have enough, I'd say, time under his belt to really to classify as a good trade, bad trade, a win, whatever. But two names that he really finally didn't hit on, at least, was Jock Peterson with his 2.9 B-WAR last year, and then Randall Grichuk with his 2.2 B-WAR. All those guys combined with their positive, negative B-WARs come together at 9.7 between the, let me get a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 players. 9.7 B-WAR combined. And I believe even one of the replies to that D-backs tweet was somebody was like, yeah, but 85% of those players were basically flops. And I wouldn't say flops. It's, baseball is a hard sport, and like they play way better than I could. But definitely not what we would imagine. And definitely seems like I believe Josh made a banger meme in our group chat that we used. It was another Dollar General or another dollar store transaction for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that's kind of what it seems like when you kind of look at some of these. So the question, obviously, after hearing, some of these names, some of their B-WAR and all that, was, my question to you guys, not just Brandon and Gabe, you guys in the chat, and if you guys are listening to this again when we're not live, respond to us in the Discord too. We love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions and all that. But what players kind of stick out to you, good or bad? And does seeing these WAR numbers change your confidence level that we have in Hazen when it comes to some of the late signings of free agents, especially as we're getting some news that a lot of these guys are probably going to be obviously post-Christmas, maybe even closer to post-New Year's?
So I have a quick correction, which also Rickard Bridge is bringing up, that Pache is not a minor league signing. He is just an invite to camp. So
My apologies.
So he's not an actual contract. He's literally just invited to spring training. But I guess to me, a guy who sticks out as good will obviously be Jock Peterson. I think he was a good leader for this team. He was a great player. He's going to probably earn himself a really nice contract, maybe with somebody else, because from the reporting, they straight up just said we can't afford both Jock and Walker. So this team is going to have to decide on either one, whether they're going to pay Jock or whether they're going to pay Walker. So, and in terms of bad signings, Brandon just brought it up. Steven Souza Jr., who was brought in to replace JD Martinez, who we all wanted, who we all felt should be a D-back for years and years, and who helped us, propel this team to 97 wins, to the playoffs. Like, he was just incredible while he was here. And then when he went to Boston, he had a 6.7 WAR. He had 130 RBI. I mean, this man batted 330, 402, 629 for 1031 OPS. And Steven Souza Jr. did a negative 0.4 WAR.
Well, he couldn't stay healthy, first of all.
He couldn't stay healthy. I mean, we didn't need him. Man, it pisses me off. Every time I think about it, it just pisses me off because I'm like, 2018 with the team that we had, with that pitching staff, with those, batters and everything. Like, if they had JD Martinez, they would have won the World Series because JD Martinez wouldn't have been on the Boston Red Sox. And it's just so frustrating to think about that over and over again. And this was a Dollar General signing by Mike Hazen because he was like, well, we can either get one of the best free agents available, a guy who wants to be here, or we can just trade with the Rays for a guy who has some pop and plays good defense. And they made the wrong choice in this case. And it's just, yeah, every time I think about that, I'm like, could have had it. I mean, 2023, we were there, could have had it too, but we can't just keep doing these Dollar General signings. And I know I made the comparison of like the Walmart bins, but I'm like, in the Walmart bins, I bought Gladiator for $3. I bought 28 Days Later on Blu-ray for like $3, and it's not available anywhere right now.
Those are the Jock Petersons and the Gritchicks of the
Walmart
bin.
So there's still gems to be found in that Walmart bin, but like, we can't keep relying on that every single time. Like, we have to be out, be able to go out there and sign premier free agents. And there's still quite a few. So that's the thing. It's like, I know quite a few guys went off the board, but there's still a lot of really good guys out there. Corbin Burns is still out there, Walker Buehler, Alex Bregman. So I don't think we're going to be able to afford any of them, but they're still out there to be, signed by this team. So I just hope to make the right decision in this case and bring back both Jock and Walker and Goldie, and at least do something about this bullpen as well. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't feel confident. And I don't know if it's Hazen's fault either. Like, I know he keeps talking about the budget, and you can only work with the budget so long until, you move on to another team and win a championship with them.
Yes, I'm glad that we at least kept him, because I believe it was a year or two ago where there was rumors that could potentially, like, the Red Sox might try to do what they can to poach him back and bring him back to their organization. And that was my worst fear, is like, please, if he goes there, they're 100% winning another one, and we're just gonna live in hell here. But Brandon, do you kind of share the same and echo some of the same thoughts as Gabe with, his maybe, I guess, not lack of confidence in Hazen himself, but, being a little bit disappointed with some of the post New Year signings that we've, seen from Hazen in his tenure here? or do you kind of have a different perspective or a different, feeling after seeing some of these names and some of the numbers that they've, provided for the team?
So the one that stands out to me was how Alex Avila had a 1.4 WAR. I do not remember him being good. All I remember is that when he played, I'm like, oh, we are losing this game because he couldn't get on base. I'm like, he must have been a lot better defensively than I remember. And I know during our discussion on this, like, it got pretty heated when I said that Daniel Descalso was valuable in games. Like, no, he wasn't. And the WAR points they gave was right. I don't know. I just have a different memory of when he played.
I did too. I was kind of on your side before Gabe brought the numbers. I was like, man, Daniel was a good veteran. Like, he was pretty clutch. And like, he might have had, like Brandon's point, he was good in the clubhouse. On the field, numbers definitely don't look as good as my.
Yeah, like I just want to say, like on the eye test, I did like Daniel a lot, but the eye test said one thing, but the actual number said another.
Yeah. Also, I know his WAR wasn't good, but I love watching Tim LaCastro. Like, for me, that was just a fan. Like, it's a little like Geraldo Perdomo. Like, if you look at his numbers, yeah, he doesn't look like he is that great of a player, but he does things that go under, like, does not show up in the box score. If you try and box score watch Geraldo Perdomo, like, you'll be like, why? Like, he's not, but I'm like, watch him play. Every time Justin Martinez is struggling, Perdomo talks to him, and it gets fixed. I think the one I'm most disappointed about is Starling Marte, because I really wanted the Marte brothers to do something, but that was 2020. So, yeah, that was kind of a bummer there. Yeah, Zach Davies, just pure garbage. Oh my God. Like, they kept him way too long. Way too long on there. And I think the other one that I really liked was Evan Longoria, because that was so low risk that it was gonna work out.
And that catch he made in the wild card series against the Brewers will always be on replay in my mind.
If he doesn't make that play, I don't know if we win that series. Personally, like that, I think propelled us like through the Dodgers series as well. I mean, game one helped when you just absolutely light up Kershaw. And just one last thing that I want to bring up with Vargas, I think he's going to be a lot like Kevin Newman. He is going to be our super utility guy because he can play all four infield positions. I think he's going to be on the opening day roster for that reason. The ability to play multiple positions is probably why. I hope I'm wrong because they have better options out there. But as of right now, from what we've seen, this team is not ready to make moves. I don't know why. It's just, it's just tough to watch. It's like this every offseason. I don't know why people act so surprised. Like, why isn't my team making moves? Baseball's a long offseason. Baseball is not like football and basketball where everything happens the first 2 weeks.
We just want our Christmas presents early, okay, Brandon? Gosh. We just want to open them before we actually get to them, okay?
So usually little things happen before the GM winter meetings, and we have a lot during the winter meetings. Then these guys go home, players, execs as well, for the holidays. So I don't think we're going to get anything till probably the middle of January for anyone, really.
Well, the middle of January is also 1 month away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Like, we can't, keep holding on until then. Like, a lot of these guys are going to be taken off the board, but also, like, you just can't expect these guys to perform as high as the level. Like, if they get hired so late into the offseason, when we talk about Montgomery, Erod, like there's certain guys who just get signed so late. I mentioned them before, Machado and Harper. Like their first year, they really struggled. Like you can only get so much work at the Boris Corp, freaking, uh, his base or whatever the hell he has in Florida. Like you can only get so much work there, as opposed to actually working with your own actual coaches on a team. Like you could, it's just, it's a totally different thing. And baseball is such a sport where you have to be continuously working on your swing, on your body, and everything else. And Montgomery didn't come back looking too good of a shape when he got signed. Like he needs to get on that Ozempic or something, because he looked really rough when he came onto this team. So this team can't wait anymore, and I think they owe it to the fans. The fans showed up this year. They showed out, and they showed like, hey, we care about this team. We want this team to be good, and now it's time to repay them. Show them that you care about this team, because if not, then we're just going to a soft rebuild. While we still have Cattell, we still have Gallen, Kelly. We have a lot of these guys under contract for a year or two more. Like, Carroll's going to be here for a while. Cattell's still going to be here for a while. So I'm like, is this team going for a soft rebuild, or are they going to actually start trying? And I think one way to show them is to make a bigger free agent signing. And maybe that is Walker. Maybe that is Goldie or Bueller, whatever it is. Like, this team has to make a move at some point to let us know, like, hey, we're going to still be trying. Like, I know the Dodgers just spent $2 billion in the last 2 years, but we're going to moneyball it a little bit, stay underneath budget anyways, and we're going to be able to compete because we're in a nuclear arms race and we can't keep up, apparently.
Yeah, say it's one of those where we're still trying to fight with, like I think you said it in one of the last shows, we're still trying to fight with sticks and stones and like catapults and trebuchets when all these other people have like rockets and nukes, and we're like, all right, dude, like, I get if it's working.
First of
and
all, we aren't the only one. There's like 4 or 5 teams that do this every year, and everyone tries to hold to their standards. I'm sorry, we are not going to be the same standard the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, and like Braves and
but
Red
we can
Sox.
be a little bit better than the A's, in my opinion. Could spend a little bit more and do a little bit more than the Sacramento A's are doing.
That one, A's, I feel like it was like Major League Baseball saying, you have to spend. You guys have to spend.
I think it was Fisher being like, I'm out of Oakland. Fuck you, Oakland. I'm actually going to spend money now, which is just another travesty for that fan base. They should have never left that city. That's a whole new topic, a whole different topic for a whole nother show. But man,
that feels like it's on the city as well, because they lost their football team too.
The city definitely didn't help in some of the negotiations. It might have been a little bit, cheap, but it's still one of those where I'm like, all right, like that the owner definitely, like, I think if we're gonna put most of the blame on somewhere, it's probably at least like a 70-30 into the owner's way, and then if the second they're out of Oakland, they're actually gonna like open the wallet. Like, I'm sorry, the biggest contract you give is to Luis Severino, and that was topping Eric Chavez's deal from like 2003, 2004, like 20 years ago. Really?
What are we doing here?
Like they could have given that money to Matt Olson, Josh Donaldson, Matt Chapman, but no, like they decide now to give it to, again, if the A's would have actually kept some of those guys, they probably would have maybe at least gone to a few more ALCSs, possibly made a World Series appearance. Yeah, Simeon,
Olsen.
like they had so much good talent.
Literally their entire infield.
Literally, it's insane. Like, gosh, we're here we are in a Dbacks show going on an A's rant. But yeah, it's definitely, like, I get your point, Brandon. You make a good point. We can't be in the same tiers like the Yankees, the Dodgers, or even like the Cubs. Which, hey, shout out Cubs, letting Sammy Sosa actually back into the organization and kind of making amends with him. Appreciate them for doing that. There was some shitty things that they were doing to Sosa, but kind of onto some other, like, I guess, like Dbacks news. Again, it's more of like a Dbacks in quotes because he's still a former Dback. But there was a report, or was some news from Jeff Passan. I think he put out an article talking about kind of where the state of free agency is right now, some updates on some certain players. And I don't have the actual person with the tweet, so if Gabe or Brandon, if you guys have the person on Twitter that had it, but They did say that free agent first baseman market is cold per Jeff Passan. Teams are balking at the asking prices for guys like Carlos Santana and Paul Goldschmidt, and then teams are also not willing to exceed 3 years on a deal for Christian Walker. And as Josh, I believe, posted on our Twitter account again, go follow the Twitter. A lot of banger memes, but it's I believe the Les Mis scene.
Courtesy to the man on the left, by the way.
Was that you that made the Les Mis meme, Gabe, or was that Josh?
No. So I'm saying that most of the memes are courtesy of Gabe. I think Josh did the Les Mis.
Yeah, Josh had a Les Mis one where he posted Hugh Jackman singing like something like "Bring him home," and I'm like, yes, please let the market stall. Bring Walker home. It'd be great. It'd be great.
So, but the guy that had the tweet was Darius Glover.
Okay, thank you. And then, so again, it'd be nice if shout out Darius Glover. Appreciate the tweet on that one. And then some other Dbacks things we saw from Dbacks Insider on Instagram. They had a few mock trades that Brandon sent in our chat that were pretty interesting. I kind of liked some of them. One of them, even Brandon kind of talked to me, I guess not down from, but definitely made me go like, yeah, maybe not as much. The first one that I saw was the Dbacks calling up the Twins, maybe potentially the new team under Matt Ishbia if he does go through and buy them. But the D-backs bring back Johan Duran, who we did trade to the Twins for Eduardo Escobar back in, I believe, 2018, maybe 2019, whatever it was. But he was the guy that went there. So this trade proposal has us bringing back Johan Duran to the desert in exchange for the Twins getting Pavin Smith. Then prospects, shortstop Demetrio Crisantes, and right-handed pitcher who's our 17th prospect in our system, Landon Sims.
Sorry, I had to.
No, honestly, I don't blame you. I think all of us have the same reaction here. I know there's a big Pavin fan group, and fair, but you know, I would be okay if we get a guy like Duran, because that clears up the back end of the bullpen. The second trade that they had on there was the D-backs hitting up the Guardians. This one was kind of floated around there as like a possibility if we do end up fully moving on from Walker and not bring back Goldschmidt. Was the D-backs trying to trade for Josh Naylor, the left-handed first base and DH option for the Guardians. And in return, the Guardians would get Alec Thomas, Landon Sims, and then a competitive balance pick, which you can actually trade. Those are the only picks in baseball you can trade. And then the third one, which to me, this one I could see probably the least likely, just because I don't know if you're going to get a guy, especially looking at some of the numbers. But the D-backs would get left-handed pitcher Cole Drake, who's the Rangers' 20th overall prospect, who had a pretty solid year, 2.92 ERA in 106 innings, 148 Ks, only 31 walks, in exchange for Jordan Montgomery and $10 million in cash. And the reason why I kind of thought that one was least likely is because after Montgomery's year, I don't know if you're going to get a prospect like that in return. But hey, I'd be kind of okay with it. But after, kind of seeing some of these trades again, they're just mock trades. They're not actual proposed trades from anybody that has sources and all that. So, don't worry too much. I know a lot of you guys are Pavin fans, but it's okay. Kind of wanted to ask you guys, did any of these mock trades, kind of pique your interest? I know Brandon kind of let it out a little bit there. There's definitely one that made him happy, but any of these, kind of make you go, huh? And any of these make you immediately go, hell no. No, stay far away.
So I guess what I'm going to say is going to, get rid of one of these trades, which is to bring Walker back. I think the main storyline in that case was nobody wants to go over 3 years. And in Walker's case, he would be 38 years old if he goes 4 years or 5 years, whatever it is his camp wants. So I can see the D-backs giving him 3 years, $70 million, and then maybe like a $5 or $6 million fourth year option, team option. But either way, Hazen, to quote Jean Valjean in that meme, bring him home, because we need him here. We want him here. Please do it. We don't want him on the Yankees. But in terms of these other trades, other than the Jordan Montgomery, I don't really want any of these trades. Duran would be good, but I feel like with this pitching staff that we have, I think Montgomery could have a bounce back season. So I don't really. I think the pitching staff is set. Fott and Nelson are going to be battling it out in spring training because Erod Gallen, Kelly, and Montgomery, I do think they're all going to have bounce back seasons. They had injuries last year. They should be fresh this year. And I can see all of them having a 3.5 ERA or lower this season. And, what depending on what happens with Ryan, like if what he showed last year at the end was for real, we could be having to talking about the best pitching staff in all of baseball and guys who can throw 150 innings plus, unlike the Dodgers staff, but they just have like 15 guys who, or all throw 50 innings, so they're able to make up for it. So, um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about any of these trades. I'd rather just sign for some free agents and then work from there. So we're not getting rid of these prospects. I do like Landon Sims a lot, and I do like Alec a lot. So I don't think this team should be looking at trades just yet.
Yeah, so you do make a great point. Obviously, I know we said in the past, like, you don't want to prospect hug too much, but especially, like, I know the Duran, I don't think he had as solid of a year last year as he had in the years past. Still be probably the only trade I personally would go out of all of those. I mean, again, it would suck to lose Landon Sims. And I know Chris Antes did have a really solid year last year. I believe he skyrocketed in the rankings for the D-backs prospects. Which we'll have especially once we get closer to spring training, we'll have a little bit more of, some prospect talk and, some guys to look out for, kind of like we did last year. But I kind of like what William said right here is the Yankees won't want Walker. He hasn't dated Bellinger's wife. Yeah, so he's not going to.
William.
He's not going to join the Eskimo Bros Club over there with Stanton and Bellinger, but maybe especially like we talked about before, maybe the draft pick compensation attached to Walker is a big reason why some of these teams don't want to go, obviously, in that fourth year. So I'd be kind of okay again if we, bring him home. I'm sorry, I'm not a singer. I can't hit those notes. But Brandon, the same question to you. Were there any trades? Obviously, any thoughts on the Walker news in the first base market? And then obviously, were there any of these mock trades that kind of like piqued your interest, or other than the Pavin one, maybe, or anything that kind of made you go, yeah, please no, like I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole?
So this report of looks like a lot of these free agent first basemen are asking for too much, and that no team wants to give that fourth year to Walker. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me there's a chance? That is immediately what I thought. I'm like, okay. I just don't know if the Diamondbacks, like, if they give him a fourth year and he comes back, are we going to be okay with, like, do we want him back no matter what? Or because a 4-year deal, like, he struggled offensively a little bit last year. So, like, I can understand, but that defense, like, it cannot be overstated how valuable that defense is. So, yes, like Gabe said, my number one choice, and I've said it multiple times this offseason, what are we doing with Walker? Like, I really hope that this team is not unwilling to make any big moves until they know what Walker is doing. Because I'm like, what if he makes a decision February 1st? Then you're scrambling for like a week to 10 days trying to basically fill all these holes. So I'm kind of hoping that they have a deadline of, okay, he hasn't made a decision. We need to move on. And as Brett said, that Josh Naylor trade, I'm just not a fan of Josh Naylor. Like, he's good, but I also watched him play for San Diego, and and he's been very hit and miss. Yes, he drove in a lot of runs last year, but he's never been a real run producer. And so I'm just worried. Like, take out Alec Thomas in this trade, use another young outfielder, I might be more willing with it. Or remove Landon Sims, because I'm very high on Landon Sims. I don't think he's very far away from being a high leverage arm in our major league roster bullpen. So, like, the two of them there. And then obviously y'all heard me with Johan Duran, with Pavin Smith. I don't hide my displeasure for Pavin Smith. I just think he's okay. I don't think if he gets more than 300, 350 at bats in a season, that's when I get worried. Like, I think he does really well in short spurts. Like, he'll have a couple of games where he looks really, really good. And then he'll have a week or two where he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And if the Rangers want to give money for Jordan Montgomery,
I think
okay.
we'd be giving him money in that trade.
Oh, yeah,
We'd be
no.
giving.
That's what I meant. If they want to send money with Jordan Montgomery, basically pay half his salary. So basically do kind of what the Cubs did. Like that then I'd be okay with it. I don't know if the Rangers are going to do it.
Yeah, so I want to bring up Red Sox Nation's comments because she's asking, do we want Goldie back? Like, is it a sentimental thing or is it an actual, like, an actual baseball sense? And I want to bring up his actual stats. I know he had a down year, but this is his breakdown from his righty versus left. So I want to bring up specifically the left side. He had 146 at bats. He had a 295 average, 366 on base, and 473 for that's a 838 OPS. So he still has a lot to offer. He struggled against righties this year, obviously with the older age. So he still has a lot to offer, especially in terms of batting against lefties. And if there's one thing this team struggles with, it's left-handed pitchers. And we may not be, willing to use him as an everyday player, but as a utility DH guy, as sometimes, giving Walker time off his feet if they resign Walker. I do think it would be a good duo. Maybe they could resign Jock. Jock hits against righties, Goldie hits against lefties. Suddenly you're talking about a really powerful duo there that can, really elevate this team because we don't have Grichuk this year. He already signed with the Angels, right? Is that who he signed with? Um, he's just so I Goldie is still a very good player in certain situations, and so it's not just a sentimental thing. But I do think he would be able to bring back a lot of the vibes back to Phoenix, back to the Valley, and will instill a lot of trust in the organization and be able to buy them a lot of goodwill, especially in the early parts of the season when maybe people are hesitant to go to games, or even in summer, like people are going to want to go see Goldie. So I do think if they bring it back, it's not just for a sentimental thing, but also an actual valuable thing in terms of baseball.
Yes. I like
When
this
we resign
mindset.
baseball,
When, not if,
when we
it's
resign
when.
Walker.
Yeah, saying if we didn't, then I think that would be the one situation that I'm okay with letting Pavin be the left-handed, because even like Ricky is talking about, like his numbers looking good. Yes, he definitely proved a lot of us like doubters wrong last year. But again, that was in a very limited, he was only facing right-handers. They did not let him face lefties. And I'd be okay because him against righties would be pretty solid. And then
I'm
like
fine
Gabe
with it.
brought up with his numbers, like an 839 OPS against lefties for Goldschmidt. Obviously, it was only 146 at bats. He definitely faced like 4 times the amount of righties than he did lefties, but still an 839 OPS and a
And I just want to
473
say,
slugging.
most of the Dodgers pitching staff are left-handers. When you're talking about Kershaw, Snell, and there's one more
I think
guy.
it's just those two now because the wife beater's not in the team anymore.
I wish Cruz was here.
That's right.
That.
So, I mean, those are 2 guys, so they can face off against those 2 guys in the same series. So you're talking about Goldie getting 2 starts.
God, could you imagine Paul Goldschmidt? I mean, Paul Goldschmidt started his career as a D-back, basically ended Tim Lincecum's reign, and then he comes back. He gets to end Kershaw. Like we thought Corbin ended Kershaw's career, the last pitch he threw being a home run. Could you imagine if the last pitch he threw is like a Paul Goldschmidt like home run? Oh man, feeds families right there for me, baby.
Dude,
Feeds families.
I thought Corbin ended that man. I'm not gonna lie. I really thought Corbin ended that man.
And it sucks too because again, it sucks that he's a Dodger, but Clayton Kershaw is probably one of the best pitchers I've seen in my life. And if obviously I didn't get to see Sandy Koufax pitch, and I don't have the numbers obviously directly in front of me, so maybe saying he's the best left-handed pitcher in history is a little bit maybe not as accurate because I know Koufax was doing what he did with a pretty fucked up shoulder. But I mean, still, it'd be nice to finally take down, Zeus and a guy that, like, I mean, how many years was it whenever Kershaw faced against the Diamondbacks? That was a game on the schedule where it's like, all right, we're going to see him go 7 innings, 2 hits with like 13 strikeouts. And that was against the good D-backs lineups. That was against bad D-backs lineups. Yeah. Did not matter. He fucking owned us. So Gabe doesn't make a good point. I know obviously like they got Ohtani coming back. They got Yamamoto. They got Glass now. If he can actually go a full season, but it would be a pretty solid option. Him against Blake Snell, I think he'd be pretty solid there. And again, maybe if we do keep Haven, cool. But I'd rather keep the guy that is still currently the owner of Walker Stadium or of Dodger Stadium. Sorry, bring him back. But again, like Brandon said, that's probably the move we're waiting on and just deciding on him. And I don't. Even like to Gabe's point, I don't want it to be February 1st and have Walker sign with another team and then have to see this team kind of scramble to go and get like a Josh Bell, go get like a like Carlos Santana. I'd be happy with as well. Like I'd be okay if they did bring him into. I know he's not a guy we're familiar with. I know it's not a he
won a Gold Glove last year, by the way.
Yeah, I saw some stat where he's also hasn't been caught stealing in a while. It's not like he steals much, but when he steals, he's efficient. So maybe that can kind of play into some of the chaos D-backs ball that we saw in 2023. I'd be okay with it, but it's just we're running out of things to ponder here. We need some news, man. We need some news. We need these first basemen to sign. We need, like, I know a lot of us were pretty hyped. We thought that Cody Bellinger being traded to the Yankees meant that they're fully out on him, but with them saying that he's probably gonna be playing center field, it's like, okay, cool. They could still probably get him, which is unfortunate, but
Red Sox Nation, why don't we consider Tristan Casas? So we'd have to trade for him. The Red Sox probably have to ask him
Haven
for
for
him, like unless they want to do 1-for-1, Haven for Casas. Like that's kind of the only option. Like I would love Casas.
No way, Boston is that stupid. So
I'm like, Boston is getting like a pretty decent farm system at this point too. So there's no way they're going to be letting him go for Pavin Smith or some prospects. They're probably going to want an Alec Thomas or Ryan or Vaught, and like as of right now, I'm not willing to give up any of them.
Yeah, so there's not many people that we want to kind of like go after. But I did also want to at least bring up V's question here in the chat. Hold on, my thing just like bounced all over the place. Thank you, Brandon. Just asking, you can only pick 2: resign Christian Walker, resign Jock Peterson, functional AC and roof and Chase Field. We can't afford all 3.
It's the easiest question ever.
Walker and AC and roof. I'm sorry.
Right.
I have sweat too many D-backs games. I like to wear my jerseys at games, and half the time I'm taking it off in like the second inning because it is like 85 degrees and feels like a fucking sauna in there. So that's my answer. Resign Walker, give me the fixed AC and the fixed roof, and I'm a happy man. But I'm curious what I know, Brandon, you're probably on the same page.
I mean, I wouldn't like if we got Jock in the AC, I'm not going to be mad.
Yeah, if we got Walker and Jock and let's say the AC, it would be fine. I mean, the roof opening is pretty cool, but yeah, I'd rather have the AC because I don't like sweating. I don't like having to go into the stairwell next to the entrance where the AC feels really nice. Like I don't want to do that in between innings anymore. So I'd rather fix the AC and get Walker in and Jock.
Yeah, so taking a kid to the D-backs game in the middle of summer is almost as bad as leaving them in the car with the windows rolled up and the keys out of the ignition, because it is child abuse there. Let me tell you.
But it's not even just hot; it's humid in there. I'm like, why is it humid? There's no grass in here. Why is it so humid?
I think it's because all of us are sweating so much that it's making it humid in there. Genuinely. Oh man, so it's honestly great questions. If you guys have any other questions like that, whether it's free agency wise, D-backs wise, or just again even fun things in general, either throw it in now or, like I said, in the Discord as well. We have a whole channel in there for viewer questions. So if you aren't in the Discord yet, exclamation point, or sorry, that's for Twitch. I apologize. But it is in the description.
It's
in the description for all that. And then I believe also in the description is our Twitter as well. So if you guys don't want to join the Discord, because I know sometimes I'm in a lot. So if you're like, I'm in enough. Okay. You can also add us on Twitter. We take questions there too if you guys want. So if you any more things like that. Rickety got one in here as well. So actually we got two here. So Zed has one. If we need a DH with the Dodgers trade, there's maybe what's his name?
Otani?
Jason Hayward.
Shohei Otani?
they let him go. But
Shohei Otani, their DH? I don't know. I don't know if they would be willing to let go Otani.
It's okay. We can afford his $2 million per year. I just don't know about the deferrals if we can afford that.
And then Ricky, what he's talking about. Is he talking about Hayward or
Hayward? They let go.
Not Hayward. The other dude, Teoscar. Didn't he sometimes play
DH? Dude.
But they don't have him on the team anymore.
No, yeah, he's looking for like a 3-year, I think like $40-50 million. I think he's looking for a similar deal to what Gurriel got last year. Actually, I think he wants more. I think he wants in like the near 20 million year range.
Yeah, I don't know who
based on last year, I think he earned that.
Yeah, he went off last year. And then there. Oh, sorry, Gabe.
Rickety Bridge, you can say the closer. Yeah, I would rather trade for a closer right now. I do trust Puck and Jamar, but on days when they're not available, I would rather have a guy who's available every single day.
Yes, I think
don't know
closer.
Who you trade for? Do you do that, Johan Duran trade?
Go back a week in time and actually pull the trigger on getting Devin Williams for the package that the Yankees gave up.
By the way, he thought he was going to the Dodgers. By the way,
thank God he didn't. I mean, it sucks because again the no facial hair thing. Who knows? I feel like maybe some pitchers lose their aura. They lose a little bit of touch. They lose a little bit of fear factor when they don't have got that facial hair on them. But again, it's not in the NL. I'm happy with it. I'm okay with it. But any I know we touched a lot. I know we spent most of the show kind of venting some of our frustrations and pouring our hearts out a little bit for one of the main reasons why I even got together as a podcast. But were there any final thoughts on the PHNX situation with Jesse or I guess the All City situation, and then especially Jesse, and then even any of the Hazen like free agent things, anything that you didn't already talk about, or any like final things that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just want to say like my condolences go out to the people who were let go, and it's also the people who are friends with them, because it's really hard to see your coworkers leave like that. Like it hurts. Like they deserve to be there, but fortunately, they made a business decision, and I think they were wrong for making that business decision. But I hope they land on their feet, and I send them their well wishes. And I'll say the same thing I've been saying for the last 3 months. Hazen, do something.
Anything.
Yeah.
To be honest, a major league roster move. None of these minor league or getting a body in for spring training, because that's what that is what Pache is. He is just bringing in a warm body for spring training, because you got to get to that certain number. So
could have some kind of competition.
A lovely Christmas present, Mike Hazen. Bring back Christian Walker.
I think all of us would love to wake up with that
best Christmas present you could give to this fan base.
God, now I'm just thinking about, could you imagine just Christian Walker actually just wrapped up in wrapping paper under your tree? I don't know if I'd be afraid or excited.
Yes.
How did you get in my house? Who let you in here? But again, honestly, appreciate every single one of you guys in here. I know we have a bunch of names we've seen here, a bunch like Corbin Barrels, V, Red Sox Nation. Bubba was in here for a minute too. We appreciate you, and also some of the newer viewers like Rickety and Zed. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Again, if you guys aren't already in there, the Discord, hop in there, follow us on Twitter. We can keep in touch. We're not gonna at least be the exact same as what we were with, or what the community was with PHNX and all that, but hopefully we can at least provide a community and some content that might be missing out over there now. And again, make sure you guys check out anything over on the AZ Snake Pit, especially once the season gets rolling. If you do miss any of the live shows, we do article recaps. We do things like that. It's where you get a little bit more written content in there that might not be I try to put a little more humor in the written content, and I feel like it keeps it from being as dry as some other things can be. So make sure you guys check that all out there. And then again, if we do get Christian Walker back, there's a good chance that we're going to have those Walker Stadium shirts. We're going to try to print some more of those and have them actually available for sale. So maybe we'll just all will that into the universe so we can all have ourselves a little New Year's present to buy each other. But again, we appreciate each and every one of you guys for sticking through here in the live chat. This is probably one of the most exciting and popping live chats we've had. Great questions, and then just great fun we had here. So again, we've been Dbacks Dispatch, Brett, Brandon, and Gabe, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
It's the Dbacks Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, Brandon, Red, Gabe, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red brace it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. Dbacks Dispatch, yeah. Talking Brandon, Brandon, Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he makes the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the band. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.